Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free. If the game is rigged, change the game.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Game changer, game changer, game changer, game changer. The Game Changer Radio Network.
Turning all of our antennas towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Yeah. Yeah. Fade to Black. What is up, everybody? Wednesday night in Southern California. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. What is cracking? Let's do this, man. Today is Wednesday, June 10th. 162 days into the new year, 203 days left. We are live from the City of Angel Studios right here in downtown Burbank, California. COA Vapor. Makers of the Fade to Black e-juice. I got some vape stats later on in the show for you. That's right. It's called Fader Loops. I see you, Dan. I see you. Can I do the show? Can I do the show? Just go to the COA banner right now. JimmyChurchRadio.com. It's right there on the right-hand side. COA Vapor. Use the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not Special. Free shipping on your order. For KJCR and the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet, I'm your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. Yeah. Tonight is the Hangar 1 special with cast and crew. They'll be joining Fade to Black all night long. John Ventre will be here. Jeremy Ray is in the house. Clifford Clift will be here. Close things out tonight, the one and only Lee Speigel will be joining us. Lee Speigel will be back. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great evening tonight. Big, proud salute to the men and women in uniform all around the world, fighting the good fight. For without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us, and you could not hear me right now. And I need you to think about that for a second. How is everybody doing? Wow. Going to be a great show tonight. Great week. Robert Perala, Betty Andreessen Luca and Bob Luca. Tonight, the Hangar 1 special. Tomorrow night, Fader night. Wow. Love my gig. This is a good gig. Of all the gigs, this is the gig. You got to love it. I am the dude on the mic. All right. Let's get this show cracking. I am ready. I'm ready. We're going to be wheeling them in and out of here tonight, aren't we? It's going to be like Contact in the Desert Part 2 tonight here on Fade to Black. We're going to do the same thing next Wednesday, too, as well. We're going to have Hangar 1 Part 2 will be next Wednesday. And Dwight Eckes will be in here with us. And Well, you know what? I don't want to give it away, but one of the producers and another writer are going to be with us, as well as a couple of other cast members. So that'll be next week. And don't forget, Hangar 1, episode 10 is this Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on the History Channel. Check it out. I don't know what this week's episode will be, but it will be this Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Check it out. Very proud of Hangar 1 and everything that they have done over there. All right, now let's go. We've got so much to get out of the way tonight. And I've got so much news, and tonight I'm going to do it all, I promise. So with that, let's get it cracking. Today, actor DJ Qualls is 37. You remember DJ? The movie Road Trip. Dude is hilarious. Also today, Elizabeth Hurley. Elizabeth is 50 years old, and she will always make the list because of, well, Austin Powers, yes, but you know what? I really like that movie Bedazzled. Remember that? Dug that flick. And here's one. This one's for Rita. Jean Triplehorn today is 52 years old. And if you want to light it up in Twitter right now, just go, Rita, what's he talking about? Jean Triplehorn? What's all that about? Jean Triplehorn, 52 years old today. And I'll give you the, let's see who can figure this out. 6 Feet Under. What is the Jean Triplehorn reference from 6 Feet Under? Let's see who's on top of their game tonight. Also today, comedian Bill Burr. Yep, that Bill Burr is 47. Breaking Bad, Bill Burr. He likes to, he's a troublemaker, that Bill Burr. Funny dude, though. Our dead guy's birthday today is, moment of silence, that's right, Judy Garland. 1922 to 1969, died tragically at the age of 47. A true movie icon, played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and became the youngest winner of the Cecil B. DeMille Lifetime Achievement Award at the age of 39. She was nominated for Academy Awards for her role in the films A Star is Born and Judgment at Nuremberg. And in 1969, at the age of 47, she died of a drug overdose. But later, her death certificate stated that her death had been accidental, barbiturates. And that's that. There's more details to it, but let's not go there. Happy birthday, Judy Garland. And so I'm going to light it up on Twitter. And you have to do this now, and you have to do it quick. Do not Google, do not cheat. Okay? The rapid response in Twitter will let us know if you Googled or not. Any stragglers? You Googled. And that ain't right. Okay? You ready? What was Dorothy's last name in The Wizard of Oz? There you go. Let's light it up on Twitter right now. All right. Let's go. Let's move on. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is simple. The way that we archive, we run about a week behind on YouTube. Right now it's been about 2 weeks because we're a little bit busy. And each episode does take, it's 3 hours long. So it's a render, it's an edit, it's video, and then it's uploaded. The reason why the podcast happens every night, because it's one click. Boom, automatic. YouTube, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Back in the old days, a couple of years ago, when we did, 2 shows a week for the first month or so on that other network, that was a bit easier to handle. Now it's a whole nother party. Okay, but we do what we can. There are some people that only listen to the show on YouTube. It's archived all over the place. And there is the podcast. But you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is called Fade to Black. All right, you can also email throughout the show. That is Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also go over to the website if you're scared and just go to the contact page where we use non-NSA specially encrypted servers. That's right. You won't get chased down by the NSA, but you still got to make it good. Or I don't see the emails. Everybody out there that writes into the show, whether you're writing to me, you think you're writing to me directly, you're not. It's going through somebody else. I don't see it. But if it's good, it will filter down into this room, down below the building, in the bunker. It will trickle. Okay? It will eventually get to me. Tonight on the show, Hangar 1 special, cast and crew joining Fade to Black with John Ventre, Jeremy Ray. Clifford Clift will be with us. Closing out the show tonight will be Lee Speigel. All right, let's go. Let's get the show cracking. Let's get to this break. And then when we come back, got some Fader facts for you this day in history. And also, all the news that you know nothing about. We'll be back right after this on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. This is Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fader knots rock.
Yeah, man. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. I am your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Tonight is the Hangar 1 special with cast and crew joining Fade to Black all night. Tonight, John Ventre is with us. Jeremy Ray doing a drive-by. Clifford Clift closing out the show tonight. Lee Speigel is back with us. Looking forward to that. All right. Guess what I have in my hand right now? I'm going to do it live on the air. I'm taking pills. Right now, listen. Oh, man. I did. I took my Power Mate. I took my Power Vites earlier today. I'm telling you, I love the smell of vitamins, man. I open up the bottle, and I can't wait. Can you overdose on vitamins? Because I want to overdose on these. I just feel great when I take Power Vites. There's nothing coded or hidden like corporate vitamin companies. You can actually see the nutrients on each tab. I look at it, I smell it before I take it. I love it. Power Vites is a complete multivitamin mineral formula designed to naturally boost your energy. This multivitamin goes right to work fast. Power Vites has the same bacteria found in better yogurts. It helps your body absorb all of the nutrients. And the Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company are dedicated nutritionists and have been producing Power Vites in the United States right here for over 20 years. They produce high-quality nutritional, dietary, and health supplements in small, fresh, potent batches, and they ship direct to you. To order, go to their website right now, energywave.com. That's energywave.com. I keep these bottles right here in the studio. 1-800-887-8535. That's 1-800-TURTLE-5. Live operators are standing by right now. Use the promo code KGRA and get free shipping on your order. All right. On this day in history, in 1692, the first Salem witch hanging happened. In 1752, Ben Franklin flew his kite during that thunderstorm. And in 1979, Paul Newman finishes second in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Paul Newman, way before spaghetti sauce. All right, some Fader facts. I got to make sure you have a reason to get up every morning. And Fader facts is it. I realize that. I love the email. Yeah, let's do this. Fader fact number 1. Mercury and Venus are the only two planets in the solar system with no moons. That's a Fader fact. A polar bear isn't white. A polar bear is translucent. It only looks white because of the way light reflects on them. That's a Fader fact. Here's another one. Humans, a human can live unprotected in space for about 30 seconds if they don't hold their breath. Now, remember that the next time you're ejected out of the International Space Station without your helmet on. Don't hold your breath. That ain't going to work. Baboons can tell the difference between real English words and gibberish. Yes, the nonsensical words. They know the difference. All right, I got one more. The Poop Scoop robot walks your dog and picks up its poop for the low cost of $400,000. All right, I got one more. We got time. To take an oath, ancient Romans had to put their hand on their testicles. And that's it. There you go. There's your Fader facts for the day. Aren't you glad you got up? Let's get to the news that you know nothing about. Documents released today by Syngenta include a letter from Monsanto CEO Hugh Grant, not the Hugh Grant, to Syngenta, suggesting as part of a corporate merger that, and I'm quoting here, we would also propose a new name for the combined company to reflect its unique global nature. In other words, read between the lines, we don't want to be called Monsanto anymore. We're done. We're done. We don't want to be called Monsanto. Got to come up with something fresh and new. What are they going to call themselves? A glitch at the International Space Station yesterday caused its position in orbit to change, but the crew was not in danger, the Russian Space Agency said. Roscosmos said that the engines of the Soyuz spacecraft docked at the station unexpectedly started during testing of a radio system that controls the docking procedure. Steps were taken to stabilize the station, and specialists were working to determine what caused the engines to start. 2 Soyuz spacecraft are docked at the station, and one of them is scheduled to return 3 of the 6 crew members to Earth this week. Roscosmos did not specify which capsule had the malfunction, but said that the landing is going to go ahead as planned. You think they're drawing straws? Yeah, buddy. The U.S. government's failure to reform the NSA spying programs and its opposition to encryption could cost tech companies over $35 billion. I first reported on this about 6 months ago. They are losing money as non-Americans are shunning U.S. businesses and erecting trade barriers. The warning comes following a newly released report by the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation, the ITIF. The technology watchdog first warned about the potential fallout from the Snowden revelations in 2013, when it estimated that the U.S. cloud computing sector could lose anywhere between 21 billion and 35 billion big ones. The report, which was released yesterday, says the entire U.S. tech industry has suffered and that the actual economic losses will likely far exceed the $35 billion estimates. Flyers. Now, I don't know how many people out there listening to the show right now fly every week, business travelers. And then, you've got people that travel and vacation a lot. But if you fly, there's a recommendation by the International Air Transport Association that it suggests now that the optimal carry-on size for baggage should be 21.5 inches tall by 13.5 inches wide by 7.5 inches deep. So after reading that, I went and measured my carry-on bag that I use. Mine is 22 by 14 by 9, exactly, if I don't overstuff it, But it fits in when you go in and you check in. They got that little thing that you drop your luggage in, and you make sure that your luggage is the right size, that you're compliant. But nobody uses it, and you're watching passengers. You know what? Before I go off, just listen to this. For instance, America Airlines, Delta Airlines, and United Airlines are all currently, they allow bags at 22 by 14 by 9, which is what I measured. But gate agents don't enforce these, what they're calling generous measurements. Now, if they drop this down, so my luggage has to be replaced, right? I got to go a half inch smaller and an inch and a half shallower, then I expect everybody that's walking up there. There's nothing worse when I see guys with like 2 backpacks that are 3 foot tall, right? 2 feet tall, a foot deep. And it's not going to fit in that little compartment thing at the gate. And it's not cool. And they get on the airline, they want to avoid paying checked bag fees. I get that too as well. But you just don't get to do that. And they come in and they put 3 or 4 bags, nothing at their feet where they're supposed to put, underneath the seat in front of you, something extra. No, they don't do that. Nobody does. So if they're going to drop this so everybody's got to buy new luggage, I expect everybody to be enforced. They should have a TSA guy at the check-in right there checking everybody's bags. Because if I go compliant, and I do, I behave. I expect everybody else to, too. It's just uncool. Anyway, Congress is moving ahead with a plan to cut investment in the social sciences. The America Competes Act is under consideration on Capitol Hill, which would reauthorize funding for the National Science Foundation and other agencies that supply the financial lifeblood to engineering and the physical sciences. However, as passed by the House, the bill would cut the foundation's funding for the social sciences by about half in order to direct money to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In other words, the STEM disciplines. So all of you that want to go study Google and Facebook in college, yeah. More and more big tech companies like Google and Yahoo are adopting default HTTPS encryption for their sites. That's right. Adding the S to the usual HTTP signifies that data is encrypted between the senders and the receivers. So no one else, like hackers or internet service providers, can peek in on the data. And the White House wants to bring government websites on board. On Monday, 2 days ago, the offices of Management and Budget published the aptly named HTTPS-only standard directive. It mandates that all federal websites that are readily accessible to the public must use HTTPS encryption. First proposed in March, the directive states that all federal websites must comply by December 31st, 2016. Yeah, that's a federal compliance, right? That's why it's going to take the next year and a half. If that was private, that stuff would take about 2 weeks. A Russian nesting doll. You know what a Russian nesting doll is? You know, those red dolls, and then you open it up, they're wooden, and there's another doll on the inside. You open that up, and there's smaller, and you go all the way down to the little mini doll, right? Okay, put that in your mind for a second. A Russian nesting doll of marine fossils has been uncovered in Egypt's Valley of the Whales. A prehistoric whale ate a smaller whale, and then they were both devoured by a massive giant shark. The larger whale, the Basilosaurus, grew up to 65 feet, and it is believed to be the largest known ocean animal from the late forget it, period. Approximately 35 million years ago. Based on the shark teeth that were found in close proximity to the two whales' remains, paleontologists believe that a giant shark then feasted on the other two whales. You should see the pictures. It's insane. It's exactly what it looks like, too. Nesting dolls. Elon Musk, SpaceX, has asked the FCC to let it start testing a new internet service delivered to customers from space. Last month, Musk petitioned the government to launch up to 8 prototype satellites into space. They would be equipped with antennas that would send an internet signal back down to Earth's surface. SpaceX said it wants to start testing out the technology in 2016. The FCC declined to comment on the application because it's currently pending. You can already get the internet signal from above. You know that from Dish and DirecTV and so forth. But it's spotty, slow, and stupidly expensive. SpaceX's equipment would be closer to the ground than typical satellites, orbiting at around 750 miles above the surface. That allows for tighter light beams and faster internet than geosynchronous satellites. The downside is a much smaller coverage area. So they need to eventually launch 4,000 satellites in order to serve a meaningful number of customers. That's their goal. To keep costs down, the satellites are going to be tiny, cheap, and check this, disposable. And that's all the news that you're going to get right now. I have some more. Don't you worry. This is Fade to Black. When I come back, Jeremy May in Twitter right now thinks he's coming on the show tonight. It's Jeremy Ray will be with us. He'll be in the batter's box in just a second. This is Fade to Black, Bespoke Radio. For the masses, I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Do not touch that mouse. Tonight is the Hangar One Special.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of Fruity Loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not Special. That's www.coavapor.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile Talk Radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fade or Not. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's JimmyChurchRadio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, bespoke radio for the masses. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet, tonight is our Hangar One special. Cast and crew right here, all in one show. And this will be part one tonight. Excited, I'm fired up. Jeremy T. Ray was born in Victoria, Texas, in April of 1978 and now resides in Denver, Colorado. Jeremy, a MUFON Star Team investigator, has investigated several cases in Texas, Tejas, California, and Colorado. He is now on his second season of Hangar One. And, besides him and Dwight, they're like the faces of Hangar One. And I would like to welcome to the program, to Fade to Black for the first time, Jeremy Ray. Hey, Jeremy, how are you tonight, sir?
Pretty good, Jimmy. How are you?
Man, it's great to have you on the show and get your voice on the radio. Everybody's used to seeing you on Hangar One, and tonight, let's let it all hang out, man. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
And welcome to the program. And before we get to Hangar One, you and I were talking earlier today, and you brought up, we were talking about other cases that would be good. Would be great for Hangar One. And you mentioned one, and I reacted, and I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, it's Cash Landrum. And I think that is so. Why is that such a special case to you? Because for me, I think it's an amazing case and one that has kind of gotten lost in ufology amongst researchers.
Well, I've actually I've been following ufology for since I was a kid, and I remember on Sightings. I don't know if you remember that TV show Sightings.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they talked about it, and Unsolved Mysteries did. So I always have heard about that case growing up, and being from Texas, where the event happened wasn't very far away from where I lived. I lived pretty close to Houston, but it was very fascinating with the subject because there's evidence left behind. The medical procedures that they had to go through all the trauma from, I guess it was radiation is what I assume, what cooked them. But it's just a very interesting case. And what I was thinking, the show only showed it for maybe 5 minutes, and we you try to cram as much as you can in an hour, and that's like a case that we could have made a whole episode on. There's many cases like that, but that one stands out.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And then I said after that, I said, dude, Texas in general. I brought up Lubbock, and there are cases all over Texas that are just absolutely amazing. And for you, being a researcher and an investigator, were you constantly busy? Was there always something going on in Texas?
Well, it did seem that way to me because because Texas is really big, and we don't have an army of investigators, so there was a lot of land to cover. Like when I was in California, I only did Sacramento County, and like when I'm in Denver, if I had Colorado's a small state, I can get probably anywhere pretty quick, but Texas takes forever to get out of. So we had our little sections, our little jurisdictions that if a case popped up in that area, whoever the closest investigator was going to get it. But yeah, I don't remember how many I did, but probably like 3 or 4 a month.
And how do you feel about Hangar 1? There's so much. Well, let me point the question a little more directly.
Sure.
There's a lot of ufology, UFO, paranormal stuff on cable now. It's 24 hours a day on many channels, and you can always find something. But Hangar 1 is different. And why do you think it's different and it resonates with everybody like it does?
I think because it's covering more ground. It gets more deep into the story and the aftermath and how policies were changed. A lot of UFO shows they don't get that deep. I think that's pretty positive. And second, a lot of the stuff that was presented in season 2 was kind of new for people that were my age and younger. I'd say the older generation have heard all these UFO stories before, but so the new material, no more rehashed stories about Roswell, or we were talking about that earlier. I would say that season 2 is. I actually like season 1 and I love season 2. I love them both, and you can just tell that it's getting better as each show pushes out.
I think, yeah, and I think that it's one thing to have the show. I get that, and I understand that, but the people behind it and the production company, we don't need to drop names or anything, but the production company is 100% sincere on presenting this in a factual way. The research is done properly, and they actually care about what is going out on the air.
Yeah, I would say they're very professional. I've got to meet, without dropping any names, several people from the company, the production company, and they're just as gung-ho about it as we are. It's a passion, and if you've got that good energy, it can make a great show. I've heard of other UFO shows where directors, it was a job, that it wasn't a passion for them. And matter of fact, some of them didn't even believe in it, but they're doing a UFO documentary.
Yeah, right.
So that might actually affect the show, believe it or not. If you don't put enough time and effort and do research, and I think the show's as of right now, I call it mojo, but it's finding its sync, and it's starting to flow. So hopefully we will have a season 3. I heard the ratings were really good, and the fan base is pretty enormous.
Yeah, that part of it is great. And I think, what, the numbers wouldn't be there for any show unless there was something there. That's it. If it's not good, they're not going to watch, and they pick up on that really, really quickly. But I've had nothing but positive feedback from everybody. You're always going to have critics out there. I get that. It doesn't matter to me. You could have the best movie, the best. There are people that think The Godfather sucks. So you're going to have that. And I understand. But the overall response has been really, really good, and that just tells me that the show was on target. And now, if I have if you could change something in Hangar 1 going into season 3, what would that be?
Well, actually, I think it's doing. I actually think it's doing great. It should grow on its own. I mean, a lot of people have recommended that we should do like a reality-based thing where we go to the investigator's house and have a camera behind you, and you talk to investigators and show what it's like to conduct a MUFON case. And I think these ideas were already thought out in the beginning, and this was the format that they chose to do. It just flowed and worked better.
And the noise that everybody is hearing, I'm going to tell you right now, what Jeremy is doing, he's walking around his massive pad with his laptop, with his camera, and he's walking around and going from room to room and getting comfortable and getting.
Sorry about that. I had the laptop in my lap. I'll just sit it right here on the table.
It's so funny, man. Is that
better?
Well, I know what's going on. They don't. It's
okay.
Pretty funny. It sounds like you're in a hurricane outside, but yeah. And for you with MUFON to become a Star Team investigator, what does that really mean?
Well, it actually means that you're a seasoned investigator. You know, you're not a noob. You've done, I think the qualification was, or the minimum is 15 cases. I did like, I don't know, 60 or 70 before I became a STAR team investigator. And I started out when, some people know about this, but Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies funded a project called SIP, which stands for STAR Impact Project. And the STAR acronym for STAR Team is Strike Team for Area Research. So it's supposed to be like a rapid response special unit, and you know, deploy to cases that were like category 2s and 3s, and those are like close encounters of the first to the fifth kind, landing trace evidence, you know, hot cases. And I started out when that project started, and I was a paid investigator for a short time. So that was kind of cool, getting paid to do, you know, to me this is like a hobby and a passion, and that was pretty neat. And the professionalism that MUFON had to offer, it was quite an experience. I look back on those times, and you know, getting a good case can get you kind of excited, you know, and you have to investigate and find out. Sometimes it doesn't turn out to be that way, like, you know, like life. But I'd say out of all the hundreds of cases I've done, a little bit over 100, I'd say 2 of them were pretty strange. I would say that were real.
Well, I'm going to save that for another show. But
Sure.
I do want to ask you this: you've had your own sightings,
Yes.
and tell us about the most significant one.
Oh man, I've had a couple that were pretty intense. I would say my first one when I was 16, and I'm running out of time here, so I'll try to tell you real fast. But I was walking through my neighborhood, and I saw an object. It was a light hovering about 100 feet off the ground. And I stared at it for about 5 minutes. I couldn't figure out what it was. So I rang the doorbell and got the neighbors out of the house. I got a total of Dick, I forgot his last name, and his wife, and then Mrs. Ladwick. Got a total of 3 eyewitnesses out there to you know, I needed a grown-up. I was 16 at the time, and I was hoping that a grown-up could give me an answer, because I couldn't figure out what it was. But it hung around for about 15 minutes. It was about treetop level, so it was right there. Every time I moved forward, it backed up. When I backed up, it followed me across the street. Dick grabbed the camera to take a picture of it, and when he did, the UFO shot up into the sun. This was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it shot up in the sun to where you couldn't get a good picture. I thought the thing was going to leave, so I told Dick to put the camera down, and as soon as he did that, the UFO came back to the exact position of where it was at. And this is, I mean, I could have thrown a rock at it. It was so close.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's a lot of details I'm leaving out because it hung around for 15 minutes. But when it took off, the best way I can describe it is if you had like a rubber band and I cut it with some scissors and you held one end and I held the other and we stretched it and let go. That's what it looked like when it took off. It looked like it folded upon itself. I can't tell you which direction it went, but it definitely took off, and when it did, it got real bright. I remember everybody's shadows got real dark, and that was it. And that day changed my life forever.
And here you are today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
No problem. Thanks for having me on the show, Jimmy. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get you back on, and we'll do a full segment, and we'll find out everything about Jeremy Ray. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, bye-bye.
You got it. Jeremy Ray, everybody, from Hangar 1. This is our Hangar 1 special. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. When I come back, Clifford Clift will be joining us. This is Fade to Black, the spoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRAradio.com. Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out.
The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Tepe.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight is our Hangar 1 special, part 1. Clifford Clift was the executive director of MUFON from 2010 until 2012, and he was the keeper and coordinator of the Pandora investigations dating back to 1897 through 1999. I would like to welcome to the program for the first time, Mr. Clifford Clift. Clifford, how are you tonight, sir?
Very fine, thank you, Jimmy. It's nice to be with you.
It's great to have you on, and for the audience, before we get into Hangar 1 specifically, what were the Pandora investigations, and why are they so important to MUFON?
Jimmy, they are extremely important to MUFON because they are the sighting reports that have been given to MUFON for our keeping from people that had nowhere else to go to report a UFO sighting. And we've had, of course, MUFON started in 1969, so how did we get the ones from 1897? That's because people have finally decided that they could talk about this, and they came out and told us after they had either retired or left the military or whatever the situation might be, and reported this to us. So currently we have around 7,000 sighting reports within the Pandora files, and they are the things that are so important to who we are and what we're about.
When you were part of selecting the cases that were going to be used on Hangar 1, and so as you looked back at the files, how did you, because there's 7,000, there was probably 1,000 that are incredible. How do you whittle it down to a couple seasons worth of material? How did you choose one over the other?
The network got in touch with us and asked us to provide them files concerning underwater UFOs, military, police, that type of thing. So we went through some of our files. I said some because it would take way too long to go through all of them. But we went through some of the files and picked up the ones that we felt that were the best investigated, have multiple witnesses, hopefully, aerial observation, ground observation. We tried to tie some of the best cases that we could find and present that to them, the studio, for their presentation of the Hangar 1 show.
And for you, Clifford, I mean, you probably, and with access to that many files and that much material, you probably have forgotten more than I even know, and I respect that a lot. How did you get? And you know, I say that without jest. I'm being very serious.
Right.
How did you actually get into this type of research? And was it a sighting? Was it your family? Tell us about that.
Well, I got interested when I was 15 years old. Out here in Colorado, when my grandmother was in charge of the Ground Observer Corps for northeastern Colorado, and of course, grandmother that's involved, your grandson's going to be involved too.
Right.
So she got me out there, and we were doing a Ground Observer Corps event where they called an alert, and we went out there and were watching the sky for airplanes. And I happened to see some kind of object coming out of the corner of my eye from the southeast going to the northwest, extreme rate of speed. It was about the size of a full moon because there was a full moon that night. And it, white fluffy clouds, it was just a beautiful sight, but extremely scary for me. And I went running back to the little shack, told my grandmother, I said, Grandma, I just saw a UFO. She says, well, you sure? She quizzed me quite heavily. And then she says, well, you're going to have to call it in. And Jimmy, I still remember my call sign, or our call sign. It was Bravo Lima Red 1. And I called that in, and I got bumped up 2 or 3 or 4. To the fourth person was a major, and he said, well, that's what we're looking for. You can go home. That gave me chills, too, because I have no idea what that meant.
Well, you know, things don't change, do they?
No.
You would probably have the same thing happen today.
Yes.
And with that experience, now you called it in, but there was no MUFON. Who else was? What other organizations were around? Were you able to try to find something private?
No, there was nothing available that I knew of or anyone knew of at that point in time. I think there was a magazine that I may have seen called Saucer Review.
Right.
I think that was around then, but there was nobody to report it to that I knew of, although NICAP, I don't even know let's see, when did NICAP start? So this would have been 1955, 54.
Right.
So I don't know if NICAP was going then or not, but yeah, it was nowhere to go with it. And that's why it's so important with our Pandora files now, because Jimmy, I doubt if we get 10% of the sighting reports that people have out there.
Yeah, I had I've had 3 sightings, and one I attempted to report to MUFON. I called my friends over at LA MUFON right immediately after it happened, and you may remember Ralph Wolf McCarran. Yes. And so I called him. We had just seen it in the car. It was here in the Valley in Los Angeles. We had just seen it, and I called Wolf, and I didn't take it a step further, but I did call him to see if anybody else had reported anything, and they hadn't. And I found that was strange because it was right over the Valley here in Los Angeles where there's millions of people. And then the other 2 sightings that I had, we saw it. It was cool. We made note of it. One I even took a picture of, but didn't get officially reported to MUFON. And if I'm any indication of what the average person is, probably, yeah, I think 10% is actually you're being generous.
Probably, yes. But so the point that I'm trying to make with saying that is, you know, 25% we can say probably are unknowns. The rest of our investigations prove there's some mundane natural occurrence. So can you imagine if we get an average of 1,000 reports a month, that's 10%. Okay.
Yeah. That sounds about right. And, you know, like I said, I would imagine that most people, the average citizens, have never heard of MUFON. And unless they go to the next step and jump on the computer and try to figure out a way to report a sighting, unless they take it to that level, it's never going to happen at all. So there's no telling how many incredible things are happening out there that quite simply just it's a passing ship in the night and it's gone.
Oh yes. I have a very good friend that I have known for 40 years, and after 25 years, he finally told me of his event, and it was a significant UFO event.
That's exactly right.
After I've known him, and he knew I was involved with this, and so that's it. People just are reluctant to talk about it.
Tell us about, real quick before I let you go, I'm curious, what was the 1897 report about?
Oh, that was the Aurora, Texas.
Oh, yeah, the windmill?
Yes, yeah, that was one of our first sighting reports in the Pandora files.
I still say there's a body out there somewhere. I think we should dig up that whole graveyard.
That might be an exciting adventure.
I'm not kidding. That report is so strange, and you read it, and you read the newspaper reports, and as many witnesses as everybody in town was involved. They had a funeral. They actually had a funeral for the alien pilot, right? And they described the whole thing, and it's there, and they laid him to rest, and that is, it doesn't sound, how do I want to say, it doesn't sound hoaxish, it doesn't sound sensational, it doesn't sound like it was made up. It's just a very factual report and story about the events as it happened.
Yes, yeah,
it's
crazy how naturally they just took it. It was just they had no idea there were extraterrestrials or craft that could fly. They didn't know what it was.
and the description of the pilot too. Well, I only call him a pilot because that's what they called him. But yeah, the description was totally interesting because they didn't have a point of reference. They just wrote what happened.
Right. Exactly.
So, Clifford, what do you think? Season 3 coming up, and are you going to be doing the Pandora thing again?
I feel very certain that we will be doing providing cases from our Pandora files for season 3. And Jimmy, there are some incredible events that we're going to have included. You never know if the network will pick it up or not, but if they continue to pick it up, we've got the material for them.
Are you going to be at the MUFON Symposium in September?
Yes, certainly am.
I will see you there. We are going to do, as you know, a Hangar 1 meet and greet that night for the fans. It's going to be awesome, and I look forward to hanging out with you on Saturday night.
Definitely, Jimmy. I look forward to it, too, and you have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you so much. Clifford Clift, everybody. Thank you, Clifford.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Have a good
Bye.
night. Clifford Clift. That's what I'm talking about, man. He's the guy that picked everything out. Let's bounce. When I come back, John Ventre will be here. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight is our Hangar 1 special, part 1. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of Fruity Loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fadernaut special. That's www.coavapor.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go back, Lee Tappy. All right, let's go. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. I am your oh so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? This is our Hangar 1 special. John Ventre is a retired Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia State Security and Public Affairs Director for UPS and was his company's liaison to his local congressman. John is a multi-state director for the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. He is the author of 6 novels. It was John's research into end-time prophecy and cultures that got him interested in UFOs in 1996, and he's an occasional columnist for 7 different magazines. John appeared on The Anderson Cooper Show in 2012, Coast to Coast AM, and has appeared on over 40 episodes on 6 TV series, including, of course, tonight's special History Channel's Hangar 1. I would like to welcome to the program for the first time, John Ventre. John, how are you tonight, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
So you're in Pennsylvania, and you told me today you were jet skiing. Is it that nice out there, my friend?
Oh, yeah, it's 82. It's going to be in the 80s all week. It was sunny. I finally got my jet skis out, and I rode them all around the 3 rivers in Pittsburgh, around the stadiums and the point, and it was a nice day.
You can take jet skis out on 3 rivers by the stadium where the Steelers play.
Yeah, there's a free dock on the south side. That's where I put them in, and I ride all around those rivers. And it's actually nicer to jet ski during the week because on the weekend, around the point in the stadiums, you're not allowed to go fast. You have to just idle at like 3 miles an hour, and it's a couple of miles before you can open it up again on the rivers. So I prefer actually to go during the week, and I can just nail it. My jet skis are 260 horsepower, so I go 70 miles an hour.
Oh, right on. I remember when I was a kid, I went canoeing on one of the rivers up there in the spring. And I got to tell you, there was some white water action coming out of those hills, and most people wouldn't think about that when they think about Pennsylvania. But you and I were talking earlier. I've got family up there, and I did some canoeing, and I got to tell you, man, it was hair raising, a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's actually whitewater rafting a little bit south of me, and there's been a couple of people who've gotten killed there. It's a pretty strong rapids. I own a wetsuit and all of that, but I haven't gone in about 6-7 years. I'd really like to. My son's moving up here from D.C., so maybe we can get back into whitewater rafting.
How did you, I know that you talk about your research into time prophecy and cultures that got you interested in UFOs. Did you have any sightings before 1996 and your involvement with MUFON?
No, I actually had no interest in UFOs. I think 99% of the people in the organization, if you ask them, they're into this since they were, 10 years old. They either saw a movie or saw something in the sky or read a book or something and got into it. I had no interest. I was a Comic-Con, horror fan type person, famous monsters of Filmland. And I used to take my kids to the Comic-Cons over in New Jersey when I lived there. So I really had no interest in UFOs. But what happened was I decided I want to write a book. And it was a science fiction book based around the Mayan calendar. It wasn't just factual, talking about the long count and the 3 calendars. I wanted to, I'm pretty creative. I wanted to write a science fiction book. So as I started researching, the Mayans, the Hopis, I Ching, and all these other different cultures, they kept talking about these people from the sky, people on flying shields, how they were given technology and knowledge from people from the stars. So I said, you know what, I got to look into this UFO thing. And what I remembered was one of my favorite shows was Sightings in the mid-'90s. And I said, anytime they talked about the, had a UFO segment, they had the MUFON investigator. So I said, when I get time, and I had time because I had gotten divorced in 94. In 98, I ended up joining MUFON, really because of the sighting show, because the name was out there, and I became a field investigator. But I've never seen anything. I thought I saw something in 2008, but I did what field investigators do. I investigated it, went to a website, and it turned out to be an asteroid. So I've never seen anything.
You know, what we did out at Contact in the Desert, Saturday night, we had a little party, and one of our friends at the party, and her name was Anna, had the International Space Station coordinate, an app on her iPhone. And so we had the coordinates, what degrees and, where it was going to show up at what time. And it was at 9:20. But this is why I'm sharing this with you. At 9:20, dead drop at 9:20, we're all standing out, and there it was, popped up over the horizon. And perfect, beautiful night. And we watched it for, I don't know how long it would take, but it's, I don't know, a few minutes for sure. Maybe it was a little longer. But as it went across the sky, it's obvious, number one, that it's not an airplane. You can tell. Two, it's a bright object, and if you know what you're looking for, I mean, it's actually humongous when you think about it. But as this went across the sky, that could be, to somebody that didn't know what they were looking at, and if they didn't know it was a space station, they would think that was a UFO. And what do you think in sightings that come in, like the International Space Station and objects like that? How many reports come in when it's actually the space station? Because our comments to ourselves as we watched it go over, if you didn't know, you think you're looking at, something from another world.
Yeah, and one of the things, I tell any new field investigator is, you live for the good case. And we're going to be able to explain about 80% of the cases. So when we do the research and we go to the websites and match it up to known objects, satellites and the space station and asteroids and meteors, we end up able to figure out about 80% of those. And, my personal opinion, I think about 10% of those are also frauds, hoaxes. So I think you can knock out about 90%. But when you get to that last 10%, and Clifford said we only get about 10% of all the reports. So when you get to the 10% of the 10%, those cases are phenomenal. The details, the information, those are the cases we live for when we get a real good case.
How many sightings do you get? You're a multi-state director. How many come across your desk in a day or a week?
Yeah, Pennsylvania gets about one a day. And the interesting thing was we were getting about 2 cases a week through 2007. And the summer of 2008, we had a UFO wave across the state. And we got over 200 cases in about a 10-week period. And ever since then, we've been getting a pretty steady 300, 320 cases a year, almost one a day, about 6 cases a week compared to 2, which is what we were getting previously. Not that the ETs take Sunday off or anything, but we get about 6 cases a week. My other states a little bit smaller. I got Vermont. I got Maine, Delaware, New Hampshire. So they get probably one a week.
And are you able to? How many investigators do you have working underneath you?
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, we have 39 investigators. We have about 169 MUFON members. We end up around number 3, 4 in the organization as far as cases and investigators and members who receive the journal. So it's a pretty big state.
And I love talking to state directors because you're there. You get to see all of this. What in the last couple of months have you had a really strong case that has raised an eyebrow?
Well, like I said, we get a case a day, and I tell you the thing we're having right now is trying to get radar from the FAA. That's probably the thing that's got me a little bit irritated right now. Is back in March we paid $90 for a radar on a Freedom of Information Act. That's a lot of money to pay $90. And what the Air Force did was they sent us a file that it was so huge you couldn't find the data that we were looking for. And I think they did that deliberately. And I have 2 attorneys in my group right now. We're looking to draft a letter to send off to them. Is that we paid $90. You didn't give us what we asked for. You sent us a file deliberately to confuse us. We even got somebody else in the organization involved to look at the radar, and they couldn't figure it out. And this is an expert in the field. So the whole story on that was last year we got radar, and on a different case, 47,000 was the Pennsylvania case number, and that was a good radar they gave us, where we showed a number of these kind of orbs in the sky. They were covering about a 900-foot area, and there was a small plane like a Cessna going right at them, and the radar shows it veering off to the left like it was going to collide with the UFOs. And it landed at the Allentown airport, and we're trying to identify the pilot and see if we can interview them, but that one was absolutely great radar. Ever since that, we can't get radar from them. It's like they could deliberately are either charging us or sending us files. They're not corrupt files. They're just overloaded with information that we can't figure it out. So I think this is part of the game that's played.
Why does MUFON hold back witness names?
Well, yeah, you got to be confidential with that stuff. A lot of people don't want their name out there. And, you can point the finger and blame the media for this because when do they ever report on UFOs like it's a real story? Usually you get the X-Files music and they make fun of it and they laugh about it. So a lot of people don't want their name used. And what we started doing in Pennsylvania with that 2008 UFO wave, January of 2009, we started our UFO conferences. And our goal was to make it comfortable for people to come forward and report their UFO sighting. And we've done 20 conferences in Pennsylvania in the last 8 years, 3 different locations, Pittsburgh, Philly, and Erie, to make it comfortable for people to come forward. And I think that's one of the reasons we consistently get over 300 cases, because no one's going to laugh at them, and we're going to investigate it.
Yeah, well, some of these reports, and I try to follow as much as I can, and I would love to get these witnesses on the show to talk about it. And my hands are tied; I can't even take it to the next level.
Yeah, well, I actually do another show in Pittsburgh. It's a UFO talk show, and I'm trying to do the same thing. They give me a half hour a week to film a talk show in Pittsburgh on public television, which is great, gets the MUFON name out there. And we're trying to get some witnesses. As a matter of fact, I got a witness for the July 8th broadcast. And he says he needs to wear a mask or a pillowcase over his head. He doesn't want people to see him because he's afraid he won't be able to get a job after that. So, I mean, that's the mentality out there and the fear of going public.
When it comes to Hangar 1, for you, why did you get involved, and what do you think about the integrity of the show?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I never really applied for the show. I knew that it was going on, and I thought they had already picked everybody for the show. And the next thing you know, I got a phone call from Frank Prather, who's the casting guy, and he said to me that somebody there saw me on that Anderson Cooper show in 2012, and they saw how I go from 0 to 10 the drop of a hat, and start arguing. And they said, "We need you on that show." So that's really how I got on that show. I never really applied to get on the show. As far as the integrity, I think the show's really good. Everything is factual. I mean, you're going to make a couple of mistakes on the show, and sometimes we get complaints that, well, the plane you showed in the episode was really a 1954 plane and not a 1947 plane, and we try to vet that. And but I think the intent is to be very factual, and I believe it is.
When I've said this before, but when I started to get involved, and I found out that even the producers on the show were members of MUFON, and I'm talking cases with them, not only MUFON cases, but just ufology in general. And I was like, holy crap, they really, really know the subject. And I was like, okay, I'm down, because their mindset, the way that they wanted to approach the show, was one that was fact-based and not sensationalism, and that's the way that they wanted to present it. And as soon as they convinced me of that, which didn't take much, I could tell, I said, you know what, I'm in. And I have just been so impressed. I don't know if you noticed this, but when you were shooting, I know that you shot out here in L.A. where I did, but did you notice that the camera people, the food, the lighting, everybody knew the subject. Everybody on set that was part of the crew had questions about specific cases that they wanted answers to. And I was so impressed with that. It was like from the top to the bottom, everybody was all about ufology and integrity. Did it hit you the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can give you a little inside information. I mean, we got some people there that's done a lot of other projects working on Hangar 1 that have done, big-time movies. And, the main producer of the show, he produced that Disney special that came out, 15 years ago, talking about UFOs. He was actually the guy who made that DVD, and that's kind of become like a cult classic with a lot of, people thinking, oh, this was going to be disclosure back then with Disney, but I think from what the producer said, he was just promoting the Disney exhibit, and he did the UFO show. But he knows the topic. Everybody on the set knows the topic. And, when we did the UFOs over Earth in 2008, that aired in the fall of 2008, I did one episode there with Bucks County. We only did 3. And I asked the director, do you believe in UFOs? And he said, no. And that struck me as, like, what? How can you produce this show if you're not a believer? And he had done Unsolved Mysteries, so he was a big name and very qualified. But when we sat down for lunch, he said, no, I don't believe it's real. So I wasn't going to say anything. Obviously, I wanted to do the show. But I said, how can you produce a believable show when you don't believe it?
What's your favorite? I want to get inside your head for a second. What's your favorite case that has been slipped by everybody that should be investigated further?
Well, one case that I thought was very good was a case we had it was actually the summer of 2008. There were two cases there. The Denise case, the woman with the metallic sprinkles in the tree, that's been done by, I don't know, we've done that upon like 5 different TV shows. But the second case there with Cliff, where he saw this 6-sided large object in the sky moving at about 20 miles an hour, and there was a heat lightning storm, and it clearly showed 6 UFOs, triangular craft, docked together, because when the lightning went off, you could see in between the seams. And so he saw this, and the investigator at the time went to the Philly tower. He was cleared to go up in the tower. They showed him the radar, and it matched up with Cliff's sighting. It was like 4:20 in the morning. Everything he said, it showed. The object then veered off to the northeast. That's what the radar showed. And that was a great case that really hasn't been done. And, hopefully we'll do a Pennsylvania case like they did the Texas show 2 weeks ago. But there's so many great cases in Pennsylvania. But what happened with that, it's almost like what I was just telling you with the radar. After showing my chief investigator that radar, we then wanted to get a copy of it. So then this whole mambo started where there's no radar to give you. It's beyond the 45-day retention period. And I reached out to an expert in MUFON who explained the procedure to me. I called the Philly Tower and explained it to them. And they then send me the radar on a disc with a letter stating I run an efficient office. Yes, we do have the radar. So I got 4 letters from the FAA and a complaint that I filed, So I got 4 total letters saying there's no radar to give you. It's beyond the retention period. Then I get an email and a letter with the radar and the CD stating here it is. So, I mean, we could make a big deal out of this, that, what they're telling us and the games they play is not always the truth.
When you deal with the mass media, and certainly in your position, you've had a lot of experience with this, but when you deal with the mass media and you get these comments back that the people reporting this are, they're crazy or they're not credible, and then you have to step back and say, well, so government pilots are crazy, commercial pilots are crazy, flight controllers are crazy. Are you saying that these very credible witnesses are crackpots? And that is one of the things that I find very, very frustrating. How they can call the military absolutely nuts. It doesn't make any sense. And how do you fight that fight?
Well, I can give you a few other examples, too. You've got like Robert Salas, who's, sitting on these nuclear missiles there at Malmstrom in 1967. And all of those Air Force bases there were visited by UFOs, and that nobody believes them. So we got these psychopaths underground with a dozen nuclear warheads, and nobody believes them. These are the most stable people possible, And, something else, 1954, the Pentagon, and this is an important point, the Pentagon met with the airline industry, commercial airline industry, and they agreed to impose military restrictions on commercial pilots, which means you cannot discuss UFO sighting with the media. You can discuss it internally. You can report it to, United or American Airlines. You can't go to the media with it. If you do, you're subject to espionage laws, which is 10 years in prison, $10,000 fine. And that was on the books. Very few people know that. But you ask, why don't pilots report it? That's the type of thing that the CIA and the Pentagon was doing to try to cover this thing up. And it was actually the Killian case in 58. So for 4 years, this was pretty much on the books. He was flying from Newark, New Jersey to Detroit, and he was over Pennsylvania. He sees a UFO. Now, this is a 30-year pilot with, I don't know how many thousands of hours of flying. And when he reports it, they come back, Project Blue Book, and says that he was drinking, so he got infuriated. He went to the media. And he said, you know what? You want to take me on? You want to throw me in prison? You want to fine me? Go ahead. And he had a press conference, and they didn't do anything about it. Then they dropped it at that point. But, you get that harassment with Captain Taguchi with the Japan Airlines 1628. He's a 30-year pilot, so he reports what he sees over Alaska, and he gets a desk job after that. So the harassment's there. It's being covered up. I always wonder what is so horrible about it that we can't tell the public the truth, but it is absolutely covered up.
Have you been messed with as a state director? Have you been messed with by D.C. or any government organizations coming in and trying to silence anything that you're reporting or investigating?
No, I'd have to say no. There's only a couple of things that's ever happened. When I wrote that first science fiction book, it was on the Mayan calendar, and I talked a lot about end-time prophecies because I kind of became an expert. And anytime I seem to do a radio show and talk about the supervolcano in Yellowstone, twice I did the Kevin Smith show a lot. Twice the reception was a couple of times the reception was brought down. 2 other radio shows we actually went off the air, and we had to dial back in. There seems to be something about that Yellowstone that at least 5 times there's been trouble with the broadcast when I talked about that. And just back in, I think it was March of this year, I'm doing the Brent Holland show, and I'm talking about the same question you just asked, and I'm telling him about Yellowstone, and there's a helicopter above the house, and it hovered there for probably 3 minutes. You can hear it on the broadcast. He heard it. He acknowledged it, and it left, and it came right back again. So
you know what? Let's test it out right now. That's awesome. Tell us about Yellowstone. What happened?
I'm pacing around the house here, looking through my skylights, waiting for that helicopter to come back. But that's the only time that ever happened. And like I said, it was the middle of winter. I didn't go out. Hey, I'm doing the guy's radio show on Skype. What am I going to do? Take my laptop and go outside? My back door is actually sealed for the winter, and so I didn't go out and look. For all I know, there could have been a medical emergency 2 houses over. They could be taking out my neighbor on a gurney. But, I didn't look. I'm doing a radio show, and I wanted to be respectful to the guy and not say, hold on, I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Well, tell us about Yellowstone, John.
Yellowstone, matter of fact, just before I got on the show, I got the Smithsonian channel on, and they're talking about the Yellowstone supervolcano. And, if there's one thing that worries me, it's this Yellowstone supervolcano. This thing is 1,000 times stronger than Mount St. Helens. It's gone off 3 times in the past, and it goes off about every 600,000, 620,000 years, and it's about 40,000 years overdue. And what they were showing on the TV show tonight was from 2004 to 2008, the ground swelled up in Yellowstone about 6 feet. And I remember seeing something back then with these guys that went out there. They do a 5-year reunion, and they went to do their fishing trip. The docks were there, and kind of like the lake moved over because the ground had swelled up, and that got my interest years ago. But Yellowstone, if it blows, it would cover the whole bread belt of the United States with 8 feet of ash, and then it would get less and less and less. Where I am in Pittsburgh, we get about 2 or 3 inches of ash, but that's not even the problem. It goes into the upper stratosphere, creates acid rain, and you basically have 5 years of not being able to grow any crops, not being able to get clean water, killing probably 2/3 of the life in the ocean. I mean, it is the event if it happens, and it is the one thing that really, really worries me. And I actually saw in the paper a couple of months ago Russia and North Korea looking at how to target Yellowstone with a nuclear explosion to set it off. They think it'll destroy the United States, but it doesn't destroy the world. It's not, but you'll lose 4 billion people out of 7.
I wanted to ask you, what is the process for somebody reporting a UFO with MUFON? Take us through that. What's the process? And then let's start there, because after that, I have a couple of follow-up questions.
Okay. Well, what you would do, you see people call me and they want to tell me the story, and I say, look, I don't take any investigations, any sightings on the phone. You have to report it to MUFON.com. There was years ago some people accused us of doing cases outside the system. So I say, you know what? Everything gets reported. Plus, I want to know where my investigators are. You know, they're going up to the Poconos, they're going out to Stroudsburg someplace. I need to know where you are, so everything has to be in the system. So they basically go to MUFON.com and they fill out a form. It's got all the information there, and they submit it, and it gets sorted by zip code. It goes to either the state director or the chief investigator. I have 2 guys, because Pennsylvania is so big, Bill Weber and Fred Saluga, who really do the dispatching for me. They assign the cases to the 39 investigators, and that's basically the flow of it. But you have to report it to MUFON.com.
And then the next step, who determines who's going to visit somebody's house or contact somebody directly?
Yeah, we just give it to whoever's closest to it. So, you know, if it's Pittsburgh, I'm going to look at the 2 or 3 investigators we have, and we got a pretty good idea of who's got how many cases. So you just give it to geographically whoever's the closest one. So we try to keep them as close to home as possible.
And then is it a phone interview? Is that what happens next? Or is there an actual, you know, on location and evidence collection and trace evidence and so forth, photographs?
They have to make contact within 48 hours. So some of the investigators have a real nice form email that they send out to them. Others will just pick the phone up and call the person. And then you, like I said, you start that analysis of the time and a different bunch of websites you go to. And, you know, it depends on the details as to whether you're going to go out and visit them. Like I said, so many of the cases are just lights in the sky. They didn't really see the craft, and you know, you look it up and it matched up to something. So you know, you go out on the good cases. Obviously, if it's an abduction or the craft was low level and they actually saw the thing, that's the ones I'm interested in. Not a light that's miles in the sky that was moving fast. If you saw it below cloud level and you saw the craft or below, you know, or it's the CE 345, I want those.
And what's the breakdown through you, saucer shape versus triangle versus, you know, Chinese lantern lit, you know, balls of light in the sky, that kind of thing? What's the breakdown? And and I guess the question is, after you answer that, what's the trend these days?
Yeah, you know, it's in our in the MUFON Journal. If you're a subscriber, you'll get that because it's posted there, and also we get an email every month. And it's interesting because there's 23 different shapes of craft that's reported. And, you know, and I kind of scratch my head when I see this all the time. I say, how can it be 23 different types? You know, like, you know, if you look at a Soviet MiG, you know, an F-16, a plane's a plane. You know, I guess the stealth fighter looks a little different. But we got 23 different types of objects that are seen. And, you know, the triangles are big, and so not big, but they're, you know, highly reported, and so are these, you know, the kind of spheres that are seen in the sky, the orbs. And one of my attorneys in my group, actually looked at 2,000 cases of orange orbs. And he wrote a book and identified 4 locations that these orbs return to. They come out, I think he said, at about 8:30, and at 10:30 they go back to what he believes is their base. One in Lake Erie, which I'm convinced is a lot of our cases come out of Lake Erie. One off of L.A., one off of Tampa and one off of Miami, and you could actually trace them back to those locations. So, we did some real interesting work, and I got a really great team here of people.
When it comes to the triangles, because I've seen one myself, I actually have a photograph, an actual film camera, not a digital camera. This was before before digital cameras. I shot this in 1996. Shot a triangle in the clouds. Saw it. I was with 3 friends. And I watched this thing zip across the sky in like a couple of seconds. I got one shot off, and by the time I got the camera ready for a second shot, I looked up to go, to see where it was at so I can take a second shot, and it just stopped at the edge of this cloud and then went straight up. And it was about 4:00 in the afternoon, straight up into the blue sky and disappeared in about a second. That's about how long. Now, when I say a second, that sounds really quick, but when you're watching it, when you go, 1 second, that's how long it took to go from this dot in the sky to nothing. It was remarkable to see, but I got it. And then when I went back months later when I got the film and I looked at it, I didn't know it was a triangle until I hit it with the jeweler's loop, and there it is. I just showed it to Steve Murillo back a few months ago over New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve, and we were having a party at the house, and I told everybody about the photograph, and I told them the story. The crazy thing was it was a dot to me at the time, and when I hit it with the jeweler's loop and you look at it, it's a triangle in the clouds, and it's more of a pyramid than it is a triangle. It's kind of hard to explain, but nonetheless, that's what I saw. What do you think? I know that what I saw, if we have craft like this in our Air Force, right, and we do, well, we're not losing any wars, okay? I'm telling you right now, that was crazy what I saw. What do you think these triangles are? Do you think it's us, theirs, a combination? What do you think it is?
Let me first ask you this. Your 2 friends, did they see it also?
Yeah, all 3 of us did. And as a matter of fact, no, there was 4 of us. I was taking pictures of 3. We were taking turns taking pictures in the water on the shoreline up near Monterey at the beach. And it was my turn to take a picture of those 3. And as I took the picture, somebody looked up and said, "What is that?" And that's how it happened. So, yeah, all 4 of us stood there and watched it. I grabbed the camera, took a shot. It was only because it was a black dot screaming across. I'm going to guess, John, and I'm going to say 60,000 feet. It was that high. It wasn't like at commercial aircraft level. This was a dot moving from west to east. We're on the West Coast, and it was just ripping across the sky. And I got this one shot off. And like I said, I had this manual wind-up film camera, so I had to advance the film. And as I looked to see where it was again to bust off the second shot, it had stopped. And I was like, oh, cool. And right as I said to myself, cool, I can get another shot, that's when it went straight up into the blue sky and disappeared. That's what I saw. So, that's what I saw. I don't have anything fantastical to add. There were no lights, there was no this, there was nothing else. I can only say what we saw, and that was it. And I do have the one picture to show, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask that is we do get cases where there's 5-6 people. They look up, 1 or 2 people see it, the other 4 are looking and say, I don't see anything. And, then the person starts to question, is it a hallucination? Is there something wrong with me? But, I'm of the belief that some of these can project a telepathic message into a person's head. And that's why when you're in a crowd, only certain people see it, certain people get picked out. So that's really why I asked you that question. Now, in modern days, I think it's harder and harder to figure out what's ours and what's theirs. We've had rumors of that Aurora project, the TR-3B. That's a triangular craft with, 3 lights on it. And that really matched up to a lot of the cases that we had in Bucks County in 2008. But, I do have a cousin who, he was actually a navigator on the space shuttle and a general in the Air Force, and he once made a comment to me. He said, John, we got stuff. You don't ever have to worry about us losing a war. So to your comment, I think we've got some really cool stuff. And, Ronald Reagan gave us a little hint on that. In his diary, he couldn't come out and tell us. That's why he referred to an extraterrestrial threat 5 times. But in his diary, he made a note, I think it was in 1994, that he said, we have a space, we have 300 officers. We have a space command of 300 officers. Well, we had 5 space shuttles that held 8 each. That's 40. Where does he get 300 from? And interestingly, Gary McKinnon hacks into the Pentagon computers, finds Project Solar Warden, 300 officers, a number of ships, 60 feet up to 300 feet, kind of verified what Ronald Reagan said. I think Reagan wanted us to know, and he was definitely a UFO believer.
Yeah, and you brought up something that I found fascinating when he asked me how many of my friends were there who saw it and what. This is the crazy thing, and I'll say this to anybody out there. This is exactly how we dealt with it. We were on mountain bikes. We had rented mountain bikes at the hotel in Monterey, and we were going to Pebble Beach, right, going down the coast. And we took the shot. We were taking pictures all the way up the beach. This little incident happened. We all saw it. I took the picture, but then we got on the bikes and took off, and we enjoyed the rest of our day, and nobody said it wasn't part of the conversation. It was kind of weird how we forgot about it. The weekend came and went. We didn't tell friends. We were having fun. We had completely forgotten about this little thing that happened for just a few short seconds on the beach. And then moving on, I didn't develop that film for 6 months. And I had completely forgotten about it. Done, John. It was nothing I had even remembered until I was looking at the photographs. I was like, why did I take a picture? Because it was like me and my friends having fun, drinking, this, that, me and my friends, a cloud. I'm like, what's this cloud picture doing, right, with me and my buddies? And that's when I went, oh, that's right, that thing. And I looked, and in the cloud was this little black dot, and then, boom, I hit it with the jeweler's loop. There's the triangle. That's what we saw. I didn't know it was a triangle at the time. Check this out. Are the helicopters there? The helicopters have arrived.
I don't know what he's barking at, but I have a 106-pound Doberman who's bitten me a couple of times, and I don't mess with him. He's upset at something, so I'm going to walk away.
Yeah, so 20 years later, 2015, I hook up with 2 of the guys. We were at the NAMM show. 2 of the guys that were there, and they were asking me about the radio show and, and so forth. And I went, dudes, do you remember the UFO that we photographed in Monterey? And one of the guys, his name's Chris, and he turns to my other friend, his name's Bobby. And he goes, no, I don't. Bobby goes, that's right. I do remember that. I go, man, I snapped a picture of it. And Chris was like, I don't remember. And we had to oh, yeah, that's right. These guys would have never remembered. And I think that is indicative of a lot of sightings. When it's a fleeting moment and it happens for a couple of seconds, it comes and goes. Unless you're going to follow up and do something about it, it's just a memory and it's gone. And with my 2 friends, if I hadn't reminded them about it, if they hadn't asked me about the radio show, they wouldn't have remembered either. And I forgot about it for 6 months. And I never talked about it for 15 years until this radio show. So there you go. And I am just like everybody else. You know what I mean? I think that this is the mindset for any witness, unless they're going to take the initiative to go to MUFON, to talk to their friends, to take out a camera and take a picture, that a lot of these things are just, boom, happen and are gone. It happened to me, and that's the way that I treated it, and I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of people also fall into denial. I've seen a lot of cases where there were 2 or 3 people and they didn't discuss it with each other. It kind of like was over, and they went home and they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't speak about it. So they kind of like dropped into denial because they didn't want to deal with it.
Let me ask you before we're winding down here. I want to ask you about Pennsylvania's most famous case, and that's Kecksburg. Are we going to get to the bottom of it? And what do you think? What do you think fell out of the sky that night?
Well, I'm actually working with someone right now who's given me some information. I've got some work to do on it. But even, what he's given me is not answering all of our questions. He answered one of my important questions as to how it changed direction and slowed down. But, I'm still working on that Cyrillic writing and trying to identify something that actually came down. I mean, everything that launched is tracked by us and the Soviets, and if something comes down, there's somebody's going to say, yeah, something came down that day, and nothing matches up to that. So even though this guy's got a really good theory of a man-made object, when you read the reports and there were witnesses right there on top of it when it came down, that hieroglyphic Cyrillic writing that was on it. There's questions here that can't be answered. So Kecksburg, right now, it's a good case. I'm working on this. I don't want to be the Kecksburg debunker, but I'm not at the point that I can say we've identified it. I'm working on it as a man-made object, but right now I've got a lot of questions that I can't answer with Kecksburg.
Well, I'm not going to let you go that easy. Okay, that's I'm with you on this. When you say man-made, what do you have a direction that you're going in? Can you comment on that?
Well, no, I can't. Actually, he asked me to sign a non-disclosure form, so I can't comment on it right now. So we're working on it, and when we've completed the investigation, then we'll write an article for the MUFON Journal, give it to the Science Review Board, see what they think, and, make it public. And I will let you know when that happens in the fall, and, then we can discuss it.
Why do you think there was discrepancies and hesitation from NASA and the tracking information that was revealed, not revealed, then they brought out more, and then there was issues with that, and then you had the courts getting involved? Why do you think that secrecy and they were so reticent to come forward with the information that they knew that they had the entire time?
Yeah, I mean, it's typical of a lot of the cases. When you deal with our military or the Pentagon or the CIA, they don't feel any obligation to have to answer your questions, and they're not going to. And it's plausible denial. Prove they're lying, and the whole, even that whole Kecksburg story, the Air Force said they sent one officer down to look into it, and the residents there say there were armed military people there telling them they will be shot if they enter the area. I mean, there's a dozen witnesses in Kecksburg. We do the Kecksburg UFO Festival in July, and they'll come forward and say, yeah, this is what happened. I mean, what they tell you and what really happened are like night and day. And, the Kecksburg file got lost when Leslie Keane and Sci-Fi Channel sued and won to get access. The box is lost. And the Roswell box is lost when, I guess it was Congressman Schiff and even Bill Richardson wanted more information. It's lost. So, when I was on Anderson Cooper, he said, these guys read the party line. The government is incompetent and they can't keep secrets and they lose stuff. And I don't think that's true. I think our Pentagon, our intelligence agencies like the CIA, NSA, I think they're world class. I don't think they're incompetent one bit. I think they know exactly what they're doing and they're best in the world. And they keep us safe, even though they do things that they can't tell us, and we'd probably roll a lot of our eyes if they told you the truth.
What is the status of ufology today? And I ask you because there's people out there that are saying it's the conferences are the ticket sales are down, or this is down, and the interest is down, and book sales are down. And I feel the opposite. I think it is absolutely growing, and the awareness is there, and there's another generation coming up, and what do you think the status is today?
Oh, it's growing. I mean, if you look at the conferences, I do 3 conferences in Pennsylvania, and we grow a little bit every year in attendance. We just did the MUFON Symposium in Philly. It was actually Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I think the attendance was great. It was a solid 450 people a day. But the thing you see right now is there's actually so much competition. When I look to see who's doing conferences, you just went to that Contact in the Desert. There's got to be 8-10 huge conferences going on right now or more. So I don't see where they're down. If they're down, it's because it's being saturated with a lot of conferences, but I don't see the attendance is down. Mine aren't down. The MUFON Symposium's not down. And I think shows, when you put a show out there like Hangar 1, it's the only real UFO show because it's based on real cases that we have. Other shows like, I did Close Encounters. A lot of that is just third-hand stories. And a lot of the shows out there, Unsealed and others that aren't on anymore, it's third-hand information. We've got the actual files. Ours is the real UFO show based on real investigations. And when you put a show out like that, people watch, now they start coming forward. And it's the best thing that could happen. So I think ufology is on the way up right now. There's never been a show like Hangar 1 based on the real files. This is the real X-Files. X-Files is coming out with 6 episodes, I guess, in the fall or next year. You know what? We are the X-Files. Maybe we should do season 3 with Jan Harrison. We start off in his office with him handing us a dossier with, this is your investigation, go out, interview him, and do it like, Assistant Director Skinner handing Mulder his file and telling him what he's going to do, because we are the X-Files.
Hey, that's actually a pretty good idea.
I get a lot of good ideas.
That's actually a pretty good idea, young man. Hold on. I'm
going to get off and send an email to the producer. Now, go ahead.
How is the enrollment for you in MUFON? Is it growing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had gone up probably 20 to 30% after season 1. I haven't asked Jan where we are so far with season 2. I would have to think we're up at least 10, 15, 20% in subscribers and membership. So there's nothing you could do that could get the name of MUFON out like a TV show. You could put full-page ads in the USA Today. It won't do it like a TV show will for you. So I think we're in good shape.
And you referred back to the Bigelow days. Is that behind you? Have we completely moved on from the Bigelow days?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know what was so bad about the Bigelow days, though, because he was funding us to do these investigations that normally came out of our pockets, and we finally had some money to go out and do this stuff. And, you're going to ask me to go 200 miles away and stay in a hotel. Well, I'm doing that out of my pocket. He was funding that. So, all the rumors and all the stuff that comes out, on this stuff is 90% wrong. I thought it was a good idea, and I liked it, and I thought, we were finally getting funded, and it was a good thing. So I don't have anything negative to say about the Bigelow. He's been around, and I'm sure he had his motives too, wanting to find out about technology was probably his motive, to get that case and see how does this thing work. But, it was a good thing as far as I was concerned.
And what's next for you? You're going to be out here, of course, for the symposium, and I'll see you when you come out. But what else are you working on now?
Well, I'm writing that last book. It's done, and I'm just waiting to get it out. It's called Case for UFOs, with all of the evidence for the field. But I've got a very different conclusion to this thing, especially when you're talking about the abduction phenomena. And that's how I'm going to conclude that book when it comes out in a couple of months. It's not unique. A few other people have said the same thing that I'm saying. Not the whole UFO field, just the abduction phenomena. And it's not even the whole abduction phenomena. It's a large part of it. But, I think it's going to be an excellent book for somebody who doesn't know anything about the field. It's kind of like a UFO 101, where you're going to get quotes and the best cases, and I've got like 250 bullet points of little known facts, things you need to know. So I think it's going to be the last book I write. I'm not writing any more books on the UFO field. I don't think I'm going to write any more books altogether. This is the last one for me, and I think it's going to be my best.
When you say you have a different take on the abduction phenomena, where are you going with that? I mean, I haven't been abducted, but I certainly had a close encounter that I can't explain with a little guy, and I can't explain it away. I have a couple of very, very, very close friends that I respect that had an extremely close encounter with beings. And so when you talk about the abduction phenomena, that it isn't what we think it is, where are you going with that?
Well, there's two types of abductions. One, and I'll give this example, 1973, that was clearly a UFO showed up, a new species from somewhere showed up. They started in Pascagoula, Mississippi, went up the Mississippi River, came across Pennsylvania, ended up in New Hampshire. They were here 5-6 weeks. They were clearly abducting people, taking soil samples, animal samples, human samples. They had about a 5-6 week period to get in and get out and take samples, and that's what they did. That was an abduction. That clearly was extraterrestrial, no doubt in my mind. Then you have the cases where these things show up in your bedroom, at 2-3 in the morning, hiding in the corners and zap you out and possess you and take you, and they do these experiments and stuff to you. And when you take that and you put it side by side with a demonic experience, it's exactly the same. And, like you asked me, have you ever seen a UFO? I've never seen a UFO. I have had paranormal activity follow me since 1989. Actually, I almost got on Pan Am Flight 103, December 21st of 88. So in 89, I had this paranormal stuff start to follow me. It's happened to my kids, family members, dark shadows moving across ceilings, pounding on the walls, different things. I get kind of choked up when I talk about it because it kind of came to a head last June. But, so my belief is that some of this, I think it's interdimensional. I think a lot of it is. And I really, really believe a lot of this goes back to that battle between good and evil, whether it's, Jesus and Satan. I believe that. And, I tell people this. And you talk about being a minority needing affirmative action. To believe in, to believe in UFOs and believe in Revelation, you're dead in the water. There's very few people who believe that. I am convinced that a lot of the abduction phenomena is not ET. It's demonic. It's fallen angels. And if you want to do a show on the paranormal, I'll tell you stuff that'll rock your socks.
Well, I everything that you just described is what happened to me. And I had a little event that happened in my bedroom about 20 years ago, and I still can't explain it. It lasted for about 15 minutes. I couldn't move, and I had a little standoff with a little blinking guy who's blinking his eyes at the foot of my bed. I can't explain it. It happened. That's it. There's no more details. I wasn't abducted. I wasn't raped. I wasn't anal probed. Nothing like that happened. But there was definitely something standing in my room, and it was frightening. It was frightening.
Absolutely.
I almost had a heart attack, man. I'm a big guy too. I can kick the crap out of just about anybody that I need to deal with. So, so I'm not easily intimidated by anything. And I'm telling you, I was scared. I was scared.
Well, 30% of people have had some experience they can't explain, whether it's paranormal or UFO, whatever it might be. It's 30%. So we're in the minority. We're the gifted ones. I refer to the other 70% as the dull people who nothing happens and they don't believe anything.
Right.
But, my daughter had something happen here, clearly got entered and possessed. She saw this shadow man standing in the doorway. She heard voices in her head. I mean, she was frightened beyond belief. I had something happen here in June. I mean, I have this huge Doberman here. He reacted to it also, and I'll tell you about that, on some other show. But it's real. This interdimensional thing, absolutely real.
No question.
Some of the UFO stuff, some of the abductions, some of that I think we're misidentifying. But, when you try to explain this stuff to people, I had a fundraiser with my congressman. And my favorite episode on Hangar 1 was the first one that talked about presidents, because my congressman texted me and said, what time and what channel's your show on? How many people get their congressman asking to watch Hangar 1? So I saw him 2 nights ago. He had a fundraiser, and I always go. And I'm telling him about UFOs in the show, and you can just see the little giggle factor and the smile on his face and all of that, and they don't believe it. And, and I'm talking to other people there, and they're looking at me, and I'm saying, you know what? I need to apply for affirmative action.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for coming on tonight and talking about Hangar 1. I really had a great time.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. John Ventre, everybody. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. When we come back, Lee Speigel will be joining us. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Back right after this.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit FNGinnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's FNGinnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Fade to Black. Tonight is our Hangar 1 special. Part 1, cast and crew. Lee Speigel. Between 1978 and 1986, he produced, wrote, and hosted NBC Radio's UFO Reports, Unexplained Phenomena, and The Edge of Reality. And then in 1993, he produced and wrote Lincoln's Music in America, the Classics in Space. Between 2007 and 2009, while on staff at abcnews.com, he wrote feature stories about Roswell. And since 2010, he has written hundreds of stories covering unexplained phenomena and UFOs for the AOL Huffington Post Media Group in New York City. He has also recently appeared on Aliens on the Moon. He had a great jacket and scarf on that show, by the way. The Truth Exposed, and now currently he's a fellow cast member on Hangar 1. I would like to welcome back to the program our friend Lee Speigel. Lee, how are you tonight, sir?
Oh, Prince of Paranormal. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, stop that. You're the prince. You know,
well, you know what? I am never going to live down the scarf. It's not going to happen.
Do you still have it?
It was never mine. When they came to HuffPost to do the interview with me, it lasted all day. The director of the show about aliens on the moon said to me, you need a little bit more color in your clothing. And I said, look, I brought 2 different sports coats, 2 different colored shirts. What more do you need? And he reached into his bag and he pulled out 2 scarves. One was crimson red and the other one was velvet purple or violet purple. And I said, geez, this is not exactly my aura colors that we're looking at here. So I wrapped the purple one around my neck and I went walking through the HuffPost newsroom just to get people's take. Hey, do you think this looks good to me? Do I look like a total freakazoid? Am I gonna bring shame upon HuffPost? And everybody was giving me the wink wink. Oh yeah, Lee, it looks great. Yeah, go for it.
Well, that's a genuine paradox. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know what I mean? And I got to say, that night, I was so excited for that special when it aired, and I'm watching it, and I'm waiting for you. I'm like, oh, it's the flamboyant Lee.
Oh, man. I really haven't lived it down. and I wasn't crazy about how they edited some of the things that I said on camera about it. Almost made me sound like I was saying, yes, there are definitely things on the moon that we're not being told, and they're being airbrushed out by NASA. And I was careful not to say those kinds of things. I was trying to couch it in better language. But boy, when you're not in charge of a show like that, you can't always get what you wish for.
Yeah, and that is the problem with creative editing, and we've both been up against that, and I totally understand and respect it. And I'll say this. This is a Hangar 1 show, and with everything that I did and you did, I know what I said, and I know the freedoms that they gave me, and I'm here to tell you what my intentions on the show went straight there. Everything that I said was there, and I didn't hold back, and they let it hang, and I totally respect them for that.
As each episode was coming on, I specifically waited and didn't watch the whole episode all the way through. I went to the portions where I could find myself because I wanted to make sure that what I said would allow me to go back to work the next morning.
Right.
And I also agree. I was happy that they didn't really take anything out of context, and I felt good about it. I didn't have to wear any, as my father would say, any fakakta scarf. So it worked out just fine. Oh, and I have to tell you, one of the things that I like about the season of Hangar 1 is how you and I, in the episodes that we've been in together, you and I seem to be the two who they're really concentrating on making us look like we're in our office. You're sitting there in front of the microphone, and I'm sitting there in the HuffPost newsroom. I like that.
I don't know if I've said this on the air. If I did, and I'm going to repeat myself, but it's funny that you mentioned that, because they got a bunch of pictures of my studio here, and so I had forgotten about that, and so we're on set, And Doug turns to me and goes, Jimmy, man, you want to see your studio? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And I walked on set, and there it is.
Oh.
They reproduced my studio down to Post-it notes. I'm a big Post-it note guy, right? Sticking all over the place. My coffee cup sitting there in the console. And it was like, they really took the time to reproduce. I couldn't believe it. None of that you can see on camera. Well, I guess you can see a little bit of it, but I know that they reproduced the studio down to that. And so I made this funny joke, Lee, on set. I turned and I pointed at the coffee cup and I said, now, if that was an Elvis coffee mug, you guys would have nailed it. And Doug gets on the walkie-talkie. Get Jimmy an Elvis mug. We need an Elvis mug on the set. 10 minutes later, Elvis mug. And I was like, man, you guys are too cool.
No, you know what that is? That's power. the
power
of Jimmy Church.
Well, no, not me. The power of Doug. The power of Doug. But that is that's indicative of they wanted me to be comfortable. Now, I'm going to say this for everybody. What we did, and I know that they did the same thing for you. We had a certain part of the show that needed to be done for the writers and for editing, and I get that. Okay, so we did that, but they allowed me after each take to do my own thing. Okay, and that's it. So on each case, and thankfully I knew about the cases, but on each case I was able to speak my own mind. And that stuff didn't go on the cutting room floor. I know what I said, and when I watched the episode, I'm like, you know what? They took the stuff that I was more passionate about. And you could tell, too, I'm like squinching my eyebrows, and I'm a little bit perturbed about the subject. And that's what they aired. And I was so thankful for that. Did they do the same thing for you?
They did. In fact, what they did before they came to New York to do my interview, to cover all the episodes that I was going to be in, they sent me reams and reams of potential script material that they wanted me to study so that I would have an idea of what we were going to be talking about. And I remember calling them up and saying, look, I'm not really comfortable with the script that you've sent me as written, because I don't want to read from a script or a teleprompter. I really am not comfortable with that. I just want someone to be here, and I'm not going to drop names. I believe you're having one of these people on next week. And I said to him, can we work this out? And he said to me, yeah, actually, I'll come to New York, and you and I will sit in the studio, and we'll just do a conversation. And I'll ask you questions based on the material, and you just answer it how you want to answer it. And that totally calmed me right down.
That's exactly my point. And for everybody that's watching Hangar 1, you need to understand about the passion about what was done behind the scenes for the production of this show. That is what's there. It's not sensationalism. It's actual case files. It's fact, and you have researchers and like yourself actually speaking factually on each case, and that you need to understand. I want people to understand when they see the show, that's what they're getting. This isn't sensationalism, and it's not off of the beaten path. It is very straightforward and done with passion and integrity, and I think that's so important.
I agree. And you know what, Jimmy? This may surprise you or other people who know me, because I've been talking and writing about a lot of different aspects of UFOs for many years. So far, I have to say, my most favorite episode was the one from last week, which was all about, I think the title of the episode was Cops versus UFOs. And what I loved about this episode, what they did, many people don't realize that law enforcement officers, as well as military officers, MPs at Army and Air Force bases, who guard the gates and the bases themselves.
Right.
These are people who also have seen and had extraordinary UFO encounters. And when they attempted to report these to their superior officers, they became ridiculed and in many cases ruined a lot of these very reliable people's lives. So I think it's good that they depicted the fact that it's not just regular citizens, who claim that they've had problems with authority, who won't believe their UFO stories. It's also a problem that's been happening to not only police officers, military officers, but as you said earlier tonight, airline pilots. Oh my God, I have talked with so many airline pilots over the years, and basically one of the main reasons why they won't go public with their stories is because one after another have said to me, "Are you kidding? It would be a career killer if I did that."
I had it was about a year ago. I haven't talked about this on the air because it's a close friend of mine, and I don't, I have to respect him. But he did tell me, I said, so, you've been flying, privately and commercially for a long time. He has since retired from the commercial side, but he owns a plane. And so I said, have you ever seen anything? He said, there was one time this bright light just came across and flew underneath my plane, and it came from my left and went to the right, flew under the plane, and I didn't say anything about it. I said, well, what happened? He said, I listened to the chatter from the radio that was going on out there, and everybody was talking about it, but nobody reported it to the tower. And he said, I thought that was really interesting. Nobody wanted to go, nobody called the tower, hey, what is this? He said it was just other chatter with other pilots talking about it, and all I did was sit and listen. I didn't jump on the radio. I didn't want to get involved. I didn't report it to the tower. I didn't, say that this thing almost hit my plane. And that's really what goes on out there. I find that fascinating. Nobody wants to get involved.
Right. And there's so many cases like that where if they do go on record, then the strings of debunkers start weighing heavily on them, because then the hardcore debunkers or skeptics will come out of the woodwork and say, well, they just were experiencing the planet Venus that was being seen through some cloud cover, or the moon was casting a certain glare, and it can sometimes play tricks on their eyes. Gee, you know what? If we've got pilots out there who are responsible for the lives of a lot of people, they better not be having their eyes have tricks played on them under any circumstances.
Now check this out. 3 weeks ago, I had to fly to Florida. My mom passed. I don't want to get into that part of it. But when I was flying back from Tampa, we went through a whole series of, it took me 24 hours to get from Tampa back to LA. I was stuck in the Houston airport overnight and so forth. I literally slept in a chair for like 8 hours at the gate. We've all been through that. But when we were waiting for another plane to arrive, there was mechanical problems. We had to deplane and reschedule stuff. But I'm standing out with the two pilots. They come up, and we're standing there. One of the pilots goes, hey, dude, Hangar 1. And I went, oh, you're joking, right? No, not now, man. I've been flying all day. Please, please, please. He goes, no, you're that guy. And I said, yeah. And I said, okay, cool. So we start talking. The other pilot didn't know anything about Hangar 1. He shoots to his guy, and he goes, what's Hangar 1? It's this show on UFOs on History Channel. I love it. And the one pilot looks at him like, dude, what? And I'm watching it go down in real time. It was fascinating. So then the little guy that was Mr. I'm going to tell on you guy, that I could see it coming. I said, well, have you ever seen anything? And he goes, you know what? Actually, a few years ago, we saw what we thought was a meteor. And it came out of the atmosphere, and it flew past our plane right in front of the nose and crashed into the earth. And we watched it. We watched the explosion, and we were over the desert. And we all saw it happen. I said, so what did you do? And he said, well, we assumed it was a meteor, and so we did call it in. And there were no other reports or anything, but as far as we know, it was a meteor. I said, well, then what'd you do? He said, you know what? We didn't put anything. There was nothing in the flight manifest. We didn't report it at all.
Wow.
And it could have been anything. I'm not saying it was a UFO, but again, that is how, man, if they're listening to this show right now, man, I just threw them completely under the bus. but he said that they didn't report anything on it. The meteor, the crashing into the earth, or anything. It just completely just went past him. And I thought that was, again, it's totally fascinating how commercial pilots approach things like that.
Well, I'm really glad that there's a guy out there named Dr. Richard Haynes, who you may have had on your show already. He's a former NASA specialist. I forget what kind of a scientist he was or is. I guess a research scientist. But over the years, he developed a camaraderie and a trust factor with many commercial and private airline pilots who now report anonymously their encounters, their sightings directly to his organization that's called NARCAP. And they generally won't talk to the media, but they will only do it if he will say, hey, you should go on the Jimmy Church show, or you should talk to Lee Speigel from HuffPost. You know, they're good guys. They'll treat you well. They won't ridicule you. So it's like almost a closed organization, but it has to be in order to protect not only just the identities of these people, but their credibility and the very fact that they have lives that they'd like to live and move on and have a happy life.
With Huffington Post, what do you think? How do you guys? Let me back up. I have 10 questions about this. Okay. How do you guys get your stories?
I get them from all over the place. Some of them, I'm on a daily Google alert list. So I basically told Google a long time ago, anything that appears in media anywhere about UFOs, extraterrestrials, outer space, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, paranormal, anything like that, send me the alert every day. And Google Alert is great like that. I mean, every single day, I get this whole pile of Google Alert Bigfoot, Google Alert Sasquatch, and you click on it, and it gives you a list of everything that's appeared in this daytime period somewhere about whatever the topic is. And so if I see something there that I'd like to write about, if I feel very strong about it, I'll just go ahead and start writing about it. Or if I have a question about it, I'll go over and talk to my editor, my friend Buck Wolf, and I'll say, what do you think? Is this something I can do without any problem? And he'll say, sure. Or sometimes this morning, he sent me an email. He said, you got to contact Chris, our photo editor. He's found a really good photo that's just been released of a UFO that was accidentally photographed over Loch Ness. Go for it. and we're publishing my take on it tomorrow morning. So and a lot of people think that there's some kind of a hierarchy at the Huffington Post where I can't write about or do anything without getting several editors and higher ups to okay it and blah blah blah. It doesn't work like that at all. They hired me 5 years ago based on whatever credibility I had going for me, and they said, we'd like you to write about this stuff. Don't do anything that'll be libelous. Go have fun with it. That's basically been the attitude for me, and it's been nice to do that because it gives me a nice free reign of things to talk about. There's a difference at HuffPost. You can either be a feature writer, which I am, or you can be one of the tens of thousands of bloggers that Huffington Post has. And the difference there is if you're a blogger, you can write about something that you have a very strong opinion about. But as a Huffington Post feature writer, even though I might have strong opinions on Bigfoot or UFOs or abductions or whatever, I can't infuse those feelings directly into my stories. I can kind of allude to them, I can maybe hint here and there, but it's not my job in my stories to say, this is what I think is happening. So what I do is I'll present other people's attitudes, other people who are experts, scientists, let them put out what they think is going on, and I'll put it together, I'll piece it together, put it out there, and then move on to the next thing. But I got to tell you, Jimmy, I mean, really, with every story that I write, the commenters and the email writers, they're coming like out of everywhere, because they think, many of them think they need their 30 seconds of fame or something, and they just want to be critical about everything that I write about. It's unbelievable that nobody's ever satisfied with anything, and I'm putting a story together now that is going to shake up a lot of people, and it may actually change a little bit of the direction that ufology may go to. I mean, all the time, people are always complaining to me, why are you always showing us images and videos of blurry things? With people have the lousiest cameras, the cameras are always shaking. You can't get anything blurry or non-blurry. The only things that look really good are done by hoaxsters using Photoshop. And I thought, well, a lot of that is correct, but you know what? That's going to change, Jimmy, because I've come up with a guy in your neighborhood down in Newport Beach who is now on the verge of really breaking out what I think a lot of people are going to want to get into, and that is infrared UFO photography. And what this guy has discovered over a couple of years, by a lot of hit and miss, he had his cameras converted into infrared devices, and he had help with this by our friend Ben Hansen.
Yes.
Okay. Ben, among the things that he does, he's not just a former FBI special agent. Ben has his own business where he sells and distributes night vision optics. And so Ben got together with this guy, Jim, and they even live about 20 minutes away from each other. Ben sold him a bunch of equipment, and this guy has been taking videos that are remarkable. I mean, really remarkable, of things that cannot be seen with the naked eye. I love this. And he's been photographing and videotaping these things daytime and nighttime. And he sent me this 8-minute video compilation of stuff that took my breath away. Absolutely took my breath away, because he also stabilizes the final images before he puts them online. And so for all those people who say, why are you never showing us anything that's stable, get ready, folks, here they come.
Well, you've seen, when I hear you say something like that, I kind of freak out, because you have absolutely seen everything. You've seen the good, the bad, and the stuff that's in the middle. You've seen it all.
Yeah.
So you are saying that even you, Lee Speigel, said, holy crap.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that, holy crap, maybe in my story. Because it's like, I don't believe this guy is a hoaxer. He has a decent job. He works for a digital distribution company. He actually helps to create action sports videos. Very interesting guy. Ben Hansen likes his videos, and we don't think there's a hoax going on here, but we don't know what exactly it is. But this guy is capturing circular objects, giving off their own light. Again, keep in mind that you can't see with your eye. You can only see it using the infrared devices. And these things come flying along. They'll stop, suddenly make a 90-degree angle turn, then drop down. It's like, whoa, what is going on here? Seemingly under some kind of intelligent control. Sometimes 2 moving along at the same time, sometimes 3, and they're moving in tandem in a triangular pattern. But again, they can't be seen without the use of these cameras. It's very impressive. And I'm thinking, for all those people who would love to take videos and pictures of the real thing, whatever that real thing is, you may have to invest a little money, and with a lot of time and patience, you too can come up with great UFO videos that can't be beat. How's that for a support?
Well, and you know where I'm going to go next. So let's take our last break, Lee, and I'm going to talk you into hanging out for another 15 minutes. Is that cool? You want to do an encore with me?
I would love to.
Okay, stay right there. Lee Speigel, Huffington Post, everybody. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Let's do the last segment with Lee. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us, Lee. Don't move. Okay.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Attention, all Fader Knots. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's jimmychurchradio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to jimmychurchradio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight, our Hangar 1 special. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. We have with us Lee Speigel of the Huffington Post. Lee, you were just saying before the break that we've got some interesting infrared stuff coming out. It's going to be great. You've seen it. You're impressed, but yet we just came off of this Roswell slides thing.
Oh, you want to get me started on this, huh?
Yeah, man. And I don't know if we're tired of it yet, but and with that, and when you're talking about these slides, are you prepared for the backlash that could potentially be dropping in your lap about this infrared stuff?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of backlash because this thing I'm talking about is not a fiasco. Oh, did I just say that?
Yes, you did.
Did I just imply that the Roswell slide thing was a fiasco? Yes, I did. I had a major problem with that whole circus scenario for over a year now, and I was very quiet and I was very neutral about saying anything about it, and the HuffPost even asked me if I was going to write about it, and I said, no, I don't think you want me to write about this unless you want me to do it as a blog, because I would really need to infuse my opinion on this, and only bloggers can do that. Right from the very beginning. At about the time when we started hearing about these Kodachrome slides that supposedly showed a possible dead extraterrestrial, maybe from Roswell, this was about the time last year when I was also helping to expose a guy named Rick Dyer. I'm not sure if you recall that name.
Yes.
Rick Dyer was, I like to call the P.T. Barnum of Bigfoot bullshit. Can I say that word?
Yeah, you just did, and which is fine. And you know, he gets my blood boiling. Just
yeah.
Whoa.
And he was, this is a guy from Texas who claimed, not once, but more than once, he was involved with several Bigfoot hoaxes. But the biggest one was where he claimed that he had shot and killed a Bigfoot adult and a Bigfoot child outside of, I believe, San Antonio, and that he had taken DNA samples, and these samples were being tested by some unnamed university laboratory, and it was never named ever, and that he was going to take the body of the large Bigfoot that he nicknamed Hank. So when you hear me say Hank, you know who I'm talking about. And he put together the traveling Hank mobile. It was a Winnebago that Rick put together that basically was driving through the American Southwest looking for venues, looking for places to park, parking lots that would allow him to come in, park his Winnebago, open the doors, and take money from people who would walk into the Winnebago and look at the body of Hank under glass. I did several stories about this. He had asked me to help him promote this, and among the things that you got when you paid your money, whether it was $10 or $20, I think for $20 you could come into the Winnebago, look very closely onto Hank's naked body, and then later that day or evening, part of the money allowed you to go to a planned location where a special Bigfoot documentary was going to be shown to all the people who came. And so many people were understandably pissed off because this documentary that was shown was a little thing called Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes.
It's like, is there no end to this? and you know, and eventually Dyer confessed that yes, that part of it was a hoax because he kept the real body in storage somewhere, and that at some point this year he's going to bring the real body out and blah, 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 you know. And so this was about the time when I started hearing about these alien slides. And wow, everybody was getting so excited because the slide covers themselves that had the word Kodachrome on them, and the slide could be dated back to the 1940s by someone at Kodak. Well, fine. I wasn't impressed with that either. I became less and less impressed, and I'm not going to name names. We're not doing that tonight. But Rick Dyer is not the only P.T. Barnum out there of the unexplained. There's someone else who has repeatedly over the years brought things to the American public that he claimed were possible extraterrestrial in nature, and they never panned out. And I'm so tired of this, that it just really gives ufology a bad name. I was just saying, and then when the thing happened on Cinco de Mayo in Mexico City, when they brought all these people in who paid, I forget what they paid, 6,000 people to see the actual high-resolution images of the extraterrestrial. Well, gee, what happened to the high-resolution images? And why was only one picture shown? And it was never really explained or really properly apologized that after all this time, all this buildup, all of these announcements that today we're getting together to announce that in May we're going to make another announcement. It's like, are you kidding me? You know, people over the years tend to I've discovered in the 40 years that I've been looking into UFOs, there's always been this problem of competition, bad competition between individuals, UFO experts, UFO organizations that don't want to share their information with other organizations. It's always been this way. I've seen it. And that is not what is going to be making ufology come up with really good, solid answers that people want. I think instead of ufology evolving, I think it's been going straight to hell on some levels, and that's just my opinion. I've been tired of this Robert Lazar stuff that's been going around. Robert Lazar, for those who don't know, is a man who claims that he was a physicist and that he actually worked on secret projects at Area 51 outside of Las Vegas, and his job was to figure out how crashed UFOs worked and to try and lead the project to back engineer these craft. And if it wasn't for Bob Lazar and George Knapp, the television reporter from KLAS in Las Vegas, we might still not know about a place called Area 51.
That's right.
So, these guys put it into the American public consciousness. But there's been all of this constant, decades-long backstabbing about Robert Lazar. Was he really a scientist? Where did he really go to school? Why can't we find his school records? Who is this guy? Why doesn't he want to talk anymore? Blah, 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 blah. And it's all about, did this guy actually figure out how UFOs supposedly from other planets work? So I like to keep things really simple, Jimmy. And I say to people, here's an example that hopefully will clarify it. If you go to Congo, go to the African Congo and visit a tribe of pygmies. Visit any tribe you want. It shouldn't make any difference. Go there with missionaries. They'll take you there. Go to the leader of the village and present to him or to her a very simple computer hard drive. Ask him to give this little device to whoever are the smartest people in the tribe, and then ask them to back engineer it and to basically make a working duplicate model. What would be the outcome of this? They can't do it.
Right.
And the reason why they can't do it is the same reason why we can't back engineer anything that might come from another planet. Because compared to the Microsoft or Apple geniuses who created that hard drive in the first place, these pygmies are as far away from the necessary knowledge and the scientific technology as we are to any extraterrestrial technology. I mean, really, we let's keep it simple. If any of the crashed UFO craft were built by a species only 500 years ahead of us, more advanced than Earthlings, we still probably wouldn't have the knowledge to back engineer their technology. So now think about, with all the possible Earth-like planets that the numbers have been thrown out at us by astronomers over the last couple of years, any civilization that might be more advanced, maybe 1,000 years or more, just like the pygmies and the hard drive example, we wouldn't have a clue how to duplicate a working flying saucer. I mean, for me, that's end of story. We just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, and to that end, how that type of research happens is you need to be told or see that it is possible. For instance, we saw birds fly. So we know it's possible to fly. Right. We just got to figure out how to get there. Back 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, I don't think anybody is teaching cowboys and whatever how to fly, that they would be able to go out there and do it. And
right.
I totally agree with that. And I'm not going to be able to teach my dog Malcolm, my schnauzer, how to drive a car.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. But the very idea of seeing craft travel in a certain way. Or if there was a recovered craft, then you could look at maybe the materials and figure out things are made a certain way or the surfaces are done a certain way. There's all of that. I totally agree. Trying to figure out a gravity generator with an unknown energy propellant of some kind that is way beyond us, or interdimensional travel or time travel. I totally agree with you. I'm totally there.
And I do firmly believe that Earth is being visited by someone from somewhere. I don't know where that where is, but I don't have a problem with them being able to get here from there because they know how to do it. We don't know how to do it yet, but they've figured it out. So if I was wearing a hat right now, I would tip my hat to them.
Oh, by the way, Race wants me to tell you hi, and he's tweeted out your famous WNBC alien picture.
Oh, good. There goes my credibility.
Yeah,
down. Thanks, Race.
It's one of my favorites. Well, what this is my opinion about the Roswell slides. Is the mistakes that were made was just the money play. That if that was taken off the table and the slides were just presented to the general public and you did make fantastic claims, then we would have figured it out ourselves. And then the negativity is removed. Where do you think the mistakes were made?
I think that's it. If you in your research and your investigations, you come up with someone who has slides that have just been uncovered in their attic, and it looks like it could be a slide of an extraterrestrial creature, you do whatever you can as quickly as you can to get them authenticated, and then goddamn release it.
Yes.
Release it to the public. Don't be teasing us for months and months and months, because good God, don't we realize that this has gone on too many times? If you've got something, show it to us. Why try to make any kind of money? Because the publicity is going to be huge, and if it's the real thing, you can command whatever money you want from whoever will do the documentary about it or whatever.
Sure.
But just release it because it's the right thing to do.
You know, I had told Don at CITD, we talked about this for like 3 straight days, and we ran it in the ground. But and I do respect Don, but I told him, and this is, I would have just handed out thumb drives. I would have had a press conference, and I would have handed out thumb drives with the high reses to anybody that asked for them, to every reporter, to every news organization, to every researcher. Hand out thumb drives and just go, dude, get back to us.
Yeah.
Just get back to us. Let us know.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, really. And we haven't seen the last of this. This is going to be something else that'll come up, and I don't know, maybe it'll be this infrared camera thing, although I doubt it because I think it's really based in real credible technology that we already know is there. It's just how many people will want to take the time, do the legwork, do the work, and find these things. That's another aspect of this. People want things handed to them. They'll even pay a little money to go to a conference in Mexico City just to be disappointed. I mean, really.
Totally.
Hey, and before we end, there's something I need to say.
What's that?
Twice now tonight, as you've been talking about the upcoming MUFON Symposium, and you've talked about some of the people who are going to be there. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Jimmy, but I want to do a shout out to the man who you mentioned, the MUFON chief photo and video analyst, our colleague, our friend, Mark D'Antonio.
Yep.
About 2 weeks ago, Mark underwent extensive heart surgery here in New York. And he's still in the hospital. I've been talking to his wife almost daily. After 2 weeks, he can hardly speak. And he hasn't really had any solid food in 2 weeks because of how they're trying to get his strength back to him. He's got a really long road to recovery. He just came out of intensive care a few days ago, and this was after the surgery from 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And I always call on Mark and Ben Hansen to help me with their opinions on many UFO videos and pictures that are going to be in my stories. So a few days ago, when I got this this photograph of a possible UFO over Loch Ness. I called Mark's wife at the hospital, and she was standing there next to him in the bed, and I said, is Mark awake? And she said, yeah, he is. And I said, well, I want you to lean over to him, and I want you to tell him this. Tell him that Lee Speigel is calling, and I need him and his opinion on a story I'm working on right now. So if you can get him to stay awake, I'd really appreciate it. And she told him, she said he actually tried to crack a smile.
Mark, our thoughts are with you, my brother, and I know that you'll be back on your feet, and you will be out here in September for the symposium. So,
yeah, well, I just wanted to use the radio airwaves to send the good wishes for ufology's very good friend, Mark D'Antonio.
A couple of questions really quick before we wind down. I heard the stories, you know how it travels about this UFO over Loch Ness. And what do you think about the picture without Mark's opinion?
It's one picture. A family, a man, his wife, and her parents and their dog were vacationing at Urquhart Castle, which is one of those places that's a big monster hunting location right there in the loch in Scotland. And they'd had beautiful weather there for a few days. And on one of the days, their dog started barking nervously and looking at the sky, and they didn't see anything, and they were kind of joking about how, well, maybe he saw Nessie. And the weather suddenly changed there in that location. It went from being totally sunny to overcast and cloudy. So the man's mother-in-law just grabbed their digital camera and went outside of their cottage just to take a picture, just a general picture of what it looked like on the loch with the clouds from on the hill. And that picture just got buried in their digital camera for a while. And that was at the end of April. Well, just recently, maybe within the last week or so, the man and his wife were going through the pictures of their vacation, and they came upon this picture, and there was something there on the picture right above, almost hovering above Loch Ness. And so because it was a digital shot, they zoomed in on it on their computer screen, and they were both totally shocked at what they saw, which looks like two symmetrical side-by-side disc-shaped objects, just two little discs with some kind of tail things behind them, like a tail of an airplane or something, and some other configuration in the front, but it looks like they're either two separate things, identical, or part of one object, but it doesn't look like any kind of an aircraft that I've ever seen. And so far, because the picture was just released, there's been no explanation about what this thing is. And because it was digital, then I think that takes away the idea that it might have been a double exposure or something.
Right.
Interesting picture. And as I said, it's going to be on the HuffPost site tomorrow. People can see. What we did was we took the faraway picture and we did an extreme zoom in, so you can see what this thing looks like, and you look at it and go, "Gee, what the hell is that?"
Right.
Yeah.
And one last thing, really quick, about the infrared shots. The objects, are they consistent? And can you see? Once you're in infrared, you're looking at surfaces now, or are they just basically lights? I mean, or is there structure to them?
They seem to be self-illuminated, mostly circular. In at least one of the shots, as the object is moving from upper to lower part of the screen, almost falling, it's changing a little bit from totally circular to almost a diamond shape, and then back to circular. And you can't really make out any features on them. It's just these circular things, but they're not blurry. And they're so clear that when the one that I love the most is this thing is coming out of the sky from the left, and it just suddenly, it really does literally suddenly stop and does a 90-degree angle turn. I mean, it's right there, and then it moves a little forward, and then it starts to drop down until it's out of sight. And it's like, well, what's amazing about it, Jimmy, is that it really is out of sight unless you have eyes that are infrared eyes.
Do you have both? Do you have both the non-infrared and infrared images to compare side by side?
Well, what he's doing now is he's getting more equipment because he first became interested in this when he's found a couple of other sites on the internet that actually people have started to do this by putting cameras side by side showing the same things where you can do comparisons. So people are actually starting to get wind of this, that wow, maybe there is a way of seeing something that we can't normally see and seeing it really well and comparing it. I like that idea. People who are wanting to not create something out of Photoshop, but trying to actually figure out what's there. And what I like about this also is that these people are videotaping and taking pictures of something that, because we can't see them, that's even more interesting and intriguing to me.
Yeah, totally. I can't wait till you bring this out. I can't wait to see it. I've seen some of it on the internet, and
yeah.
I find it totally intriguing. And when we're talking about interdimensional, another a parallel type of situation that is going on, it makes a lot of sense. I love
that idea.
Yeah, I do. And you know what? There could be flying monsters out there that we don't even see. Something crazy like Fantastic Planet or Forbidden Planet.
Forbidden Planet.
Yeah, exactly. Part of
the monster from the id.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lee. I had a great time. Welcome back to
me
the
too,
show.
Jimmy. Thank you.
All the best. Now, it's 1:00 in the morning out there in New York. Get some sleep. Go to work. Get that story out tomorrow. Thank you, Lee.
Okay, Jimmy.
We'll talk to you.
Thanks.
Lee Speigel, everybody. Thank you so much. Lee Speigel of the Huffington Post. Wow, we had Jeremy Ray on tonight. We had Clifford Clift on tonight. We had John Ventre on tonight. The Hangar 1 special. This is part 1. Next Wednesday, we will do Hangar 1 part 2, cast and crew, right here on Fade to Black. Lee's the best. Okay, let's see. I just want to wind down with a couple of things that I didn't get to that I promised. And, everybody is vaping. And Out of Contact in the Desert, it absolutely freaked me out. Also at the Hollywood Bowl too this past weekend. But Out of Contact in the Desert, it seemed like everybody that I looked at, everybody that I laid eyes on was vaping. Thousands of people vaping. Everybody vaped. All of the Fadernauts, was there a Fadernaut out there that is going to tell me right now that they weren't vaping? Everybody is vaping. And this came out today. About 10% of U.S. adults today are vaping. That is a new Reuters poll that came out today. Out of 5,679 Americans in this poll conducted between May 19th and June 4th, what is that, 2 weeks? It's almost 4 times higher than a U.S. government estimate that 2.6% of adults are using e-cigarettes. About 15% of the poll participants under the age of 40, 15% now vape. Now, I look at it's a shocking number. I totally agree. In 2018, 18.8% of those 18 to 24 and 20.1% of those from 25 to 44 smoke cigarettes. The poll went on to say that about half of those numbers, they vape and smoke at the same time. I thought that was pretty funny. You're getting a serious nicotine fix. So what do? Do you vape and then go out and burn a heater real quick and then just get the nicotine jolt and then go back and vape some 18%, whatever. But 10% of Americans today, adults, U.S. adults, are vaping. Totally shocking poll came out today. I'll have some more on this. I might have it ready by tomorrow's show. And I'm going to leave you with this. The ex-wife of Russia's richest man, Vladimir Putin, wants half of his $15 billion fortune. That's right. The couple divorced last year. And he offered his ex-wife, Natalia, his wife of 30 years, a settlement that included a monthly allowance of $250,000 allowance and properties in Moscow, London, and New York. But she says, no, that's only a fraction of what is rightfully hers. She claims that his real wealth is held in offshore companies, and she launched an international legal battle to get a hold of it. He runs the world's biggest nickel producer, and it's called Norilsk Nickel, one of Russian industry's crown jewels. Norilsk has a market value of more than $30 billion, and he owns 30% of that company. She wants half, and that is Fade to Black. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Fader Knots. Thank you, Jeremy Ray. Thank you, John Ventre. Thank you, Clifford Clift. Thank you, Lee Speigel. Clifford Clift, Clifford Craft, Clifford Clift. Fade to Black is produced by Rita Kumarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale, webmaster is Method of Signaling. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro is Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Tomorrow night is Fader Nights. Taking your calls all night long. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Everybody be safe. See ya.